if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe with your heart that God raised him from the dead, then you will be saved. I think that's Romans 10. It's in Romans 10, and I might have butchered it. So if you confess Jesus, you believe he's raised from the dead, you will be saved. There's several verses like this in your New Testament. And there's several points like this in the letter to the Romans. If you follow me for any length of time, you realize that I don't believe the way the rest of most Christians do. But this is one of those verses that makes people believe that you just believe. You make a mental assent that Jesus is who he says he is, and therefore you will be saved. That's the way it's presented. That's what most 98% of your denominational churches teach. I am in disagreement with that, as most of you probably know by now. If you were to read just that verse or the few verses like it, you would see where, and this is taught in the churches, what I'm trying to get you to see is that the churches are creating believers. People who will believe, make mental assent of who Jesus is, and therefore they feel they're saved. But when you read the Gospels and the book of Acts, you see what Paul did in the book of Acts, you see what Jesus said in the Gospels. I'm always referencing John 14. Paul and Jesus in the Gospels are creating disciples. It's not just about believing, it's about believing so much that you do. You believe that Jesus is who he says he is. You confess Jesus, that he is the Lord. You believe that God raised him from the dead. And therefore, because he is the Messiah, the Savior, the Lord, the Christ, you're going to listen to him and do what he says. I thought somebody was calling me. You're going to listen to him. You're going to follow his steps. You're going to immerse yourself in his teachings. Apply those teachings to your life. Not just believe that he is who he says he is. Yeah, I believe Jesus is the Christ, the Lord, risen, and all this. So I guess I want to be saved. Whereas, you got to see there's two systems here. One system is creating believers who do just that. They just believe. Not much change going on there. Not much transformation. But the Gospels, Jesus, Paul, and the gang in the book of Acts, they are creating disciples. Okay? They are doing. They know that the salvation is not a stamp. Salvation is an opportunity. It's a plan, the plan of salvation. Okay, if you got a piece of dirt, you want to build a house on it, a truck shows